Welcome, Samy.
All right, let's start. Bismillah, tawakkalna Allah, wa la hawla wa la quwwata illa billah. So, I am Samy, as I told you, and I am here in United Arab Emirates. I belong to those three countries, as you can see on the screen. Can you see it clearly?
Yes, we can.
Belong to those countries, those beautiful countries, Egypt, Syria, and United Arab Emirates. Just a minute. All right. All right. So my main profession, actually, I am engineer. I work as an engineer in the construction field, and like since multiple years, it started to get really serious about photography. Photography was a passion of mine, and the passion kept on increasing and evolving until I decided that I will give it more time. I will stop construction for a minute, or for a couple of months, and then I will pursue for photography. And then slowly I started to find myself, I'm more into photography. Over the last years, I was really honored with lots of accomplishments and awards and prizes, but what I like most is lecturing people and lecturing kids, and this is really adding a value to what I do. I dealt with Microsoft, with Apple, with many companies, and in the field of photography and technology, and it's really something that I love and I'm honored about. What I love most, of course, is my family, and I always take my family with me. They are really passionate about astronomy and spending nights in the desert and camping and all of those cool things. So I always take my family most of the time, if there is a possibility, to take them with me in such journeys until they become really hooked up into it and they loved it. And we spend a lot of time together from a journey to another. And we go around United Arab Emirates and Egypt, camping and taking photographs and doing the things that I love with my family. And lately, I also invited some of my kids' friends, and we went on a journey. It was a really very cool journey. We did it in the mountains. I'll just leave you with it. Have a look at it. So as you can see, it's really fun doing such things and going and camping and enjoying time with the friends. So this is actually what I like about what I do. Photography, and especially astrophotography, is all about going and blending with nature. And that's a very cool aspect of astrophotography, because that particular genre, you have to go far away into the desert because you have to stay away from lights. City lights affect the visibility of stars. As we can see, if we go at night and watch the sky from your balcony or from your terrace in the middle of Abu Dhabi or Dubai, you can hardly see any stars. So going far away from the cities, we start to get less and less light pollution. And I think I saw a couple of questions on light pollution, and I think you understood the concept behind it. Technology and modern life that we all enjoy and live comes with a price as well. All those city lights dim away the visibility of stars. So it's really like finding a treasure. When you look for locations where you want to take photographs for stars, as if you are in a mission hunting for a treasure. So it's very exciting, and this is why I like it. I can share it with my family, I can share it with my friends, I can go make a camp. And the most important drive or trigger for this hobby is when I was in your age. I was in your age, and I made a wish at that time that I will fly among the stars and I will touch the skies and the galaxies. And this wish was really getting me obsessed. I wanted a lot to do this, and it came true. And it came true through photography. So basically, by doing the photography and doing this kind of astrophotography, I practically made my dream come true. So I don't have to fly away. I don't have to go to the sky or go to the space. I brought the space to my camera and to my comfort zone, and I was able to explore all such beauties with a beautiful hobby and some science and knowledge that I did with such a beautiful hobby. So this wish came true, and it came true through technology, through knowledge, through science, and through me wanting to pursue such beautiful hobby and beautiful dream when I was a kid. And I'm sure most of you are having the same dream. Astronomy and stars and all of such beautiful things are always a dream. Ziad, I think he wants to ask a question. Please.
Yes, go ahead, Ziad.
So when did you start taking like pictures of the sky?
That's a really good question, because when I started photography, I actually started back in, like 10 years ago, and I was shooting portraits. I was taking photographs for my kids. I was taking photographs for everything I see beautiful. But taking photographs for the sky started like in 2013, like 8 years ago. And as I told you, it was a dream for me when I was a child that I want to fly into space. And then I found out about the practicality of getting good. And so I started to answer your question loud and clear. I started in 2013. And the first thing that I did is I read about it. I started reading and making a research. How can we get such beautiful photos for the sky from the United Arab Emirates? So I started discovering and improvising and exploring around the areas until I find a lot of areas that I can go and shoot such beautiful pictures. And I started to make this hobby even more serious.
Rashid, let's hear from you.
Do you only make pictures in the UAE and Egypt, or like in Europe or South Africa? Not like everywhere else except the...
I can tell you, I have a long bucket list of places that I want to visit, but right now I'm only taking pictures in Saudi Arabia, in United Arab Emirates, in Oman, in Egypt. And if I spend like the next 10 years trying to explore the areas, I will never finish such locations and beautiful areas. There's a lot of locations in the United Arab Emirates that I still want to explore. Egypt is very big. It's like 1 million square kilometers. There's a lot of areas in Egypt, and I will show you after a while some trips here and there in Egypt and the United Arab Emirates, and you can see for yourself that there is a lot of areas yet to explore. However, I have a couple of locations I have in mind, like there is a desert called Atacama Desert in Chile, and there is a desert of Nevada in USA, and there are some countryside in Scotland and Ireland that I really want to visit and take photographs in it. But I'm trying to put some priorities. I'm trying to manage my time properly so I can manage between my work and my hobby, because such thing would require a lot of time, and I have to make a good management of my time. All right, Rashid. So inshallah, there's a lot of areas that I want to visit, and inshallah, I will visit it all, hopefully.
Okay.
Can I interrupt just for a second? There are many students who are full of questions, but I know, Samy, you have a really fantastic presentation to share with them. And I think many of their questions will be answered as you speak. So at the moment, if you have questions, remember, please write them down on your paper and listen for the answers as Samy shares his story. And then afterwards, we'll have some time for questions, and Samy will pause in the presentation, okay? So just at the moment, okay?
I really love this, Elise. Let's do this.
Okay.
And write down your questions and let us see. So photography, I pick photography because photography is an international language. We can speak through photographs, and anybody can understand it. You don't have to speak Urdu, or you don't have to speak Spanish. All you have to do is just to look at the picture, and sometimes a picture will mean 1,000 words. And astrophotography, particularly, what I love about it, it's about adventure. It's about going out, as I told you, in the desert and visiting those beautiful places, and exploring ideas and exploring here and there. And I will take you with me first of all in the types of astrophotography. Astrophotography are having many types. One of the most important type is photographing the sun and the moon. And we all saw the pictures of the moon and the phenomena where we have an eclipse or we have a super moon, and we all heard about such beautiful things, and about also the planets in the sky. If you remember, like in December and in June 2020 and December 2019, just before the COVID-19, there was an eclipse, an annular eclipse that happened in the south of United Arab Emirates, and it was visible everywhere in Abu Dhabi and in Oman. It was a beautiful experience. There is also another type called wide field. Wide field, it means a wide angle. So in the planets, you zoom into the object, but in the wide field, you go far away and you start taking a bigger picture and a wider picture, as we can see. So wide field is basically nature photography, but taken at night. And those are some of the photos that I took. The exciting genre of astrophotography is the deep sky. If you look at this picture, the first one, it looks like a normal wide field, but if you jump deeper and deeper, you will start exploring those beautiful targets in the sky, the things that are full of colors and full of gases and those beautiful objects that resemble a flower or a man or a running horse or a flying angel. There's a lot of beauty in the sky that we don't see with our naked eye, and we can see it with our cameras. So this is what I like about the other genre of astrophotography, which is the deep sky objects. Now, there are lots of things that I have to do in order to manage my time and manage my hobby. And I don't want to get you into such details, but equipment is very important, of course. We have to have a good camera, a good tripod, and a timer, as you can see. And there are some considerations, and those considerations are very important, because when we go on a trip for astrophotography, we have to be equipped with all the things that will keep us safe and will keep our equipment safe, like batteries, like a chair, like proper clothing, like having some snacks and water, a first aid kit, and some maybe bug spray, and a binocular. All of those things are required as if we are going on a trip. So this is really very important to have such things. We also need to know about astronomy. We need to know about photography, and we need to know about astronomy. And I will tell you a very cool fact about photography. We all know that the Earth is rotating, right? So the Earth is in continuous rotation around its axis. We know this fact. And this is what makes our day 24 hours, and we can see that the day is changing throughout the hours. And what's happening is when we look at the sky, we can feel that there is an apparent motion. We can see the stars are moving, but basically what's happening really is that the Earth is rotating, right? And this rotation, it's a big advantage, but at the same time, it's also a very big challenge for astrophotography, because we have to take clear pictures of the stars, and this rotation will make it very hard to do this. So this is our Earth rotating, and this is Polaris, which is the North Star. And in order for us to take good photographs of the sky, I need a small device called Sky Tracker. This device is a magical device, actually, because it moves exactly with the rotation of the Earth. All right, so it rotates exactly with the Earth. So in other words, it keeps the sky and the stars stationary, so I can take more photos. I'll give you an example. If you want to take a photograph for your sister or your brother or your mother, you have to keep them steady, right? Or else it will be shaky and they will look fuzzy. So in order to take a photograph for your sister, you will tell her, please stand still so I can take the photo. This is exactly what I do with this device. I keep the stars stand still so I can shoot it and take those beautiful photographs. So you need technology. Technology is a very important tool that we have to do in order to pursue for this beautiful hobby. Now let's jump into a very cool thing about astrophotography. I have to search for locations. I have to study the moon, all of those, and I have to pick up a good weather. And the most important thing, I have to go to beautiful locations. Now I will tell you some stories, very exciting stories about locations that I visit. And this is mainly locations in the United Arab Emirates. I will leave you with this small video. It was taken all over the United Arab Emirates. And this will answer Ziad and many of you who asked about going outside. Why should I go outside when I have a lot to explore in the United Arab Emirates, as you can see? This place, for example, is called Maliha. It's in Sharjah, a beautiful, magical place. Maybe some of you know it already. There is a big mountain there, and they call it the Fossil Rock. And because it's a prehistoric mountain, it contains lots of exciting fossils of creatures and species. It's a really very well-known place for scientists and for adventurers and for everybody. This is Abu Dhabi, in the corners of Abu Dhabi, in a place called Razeen, near the empty quarter. It's a very dark place and the beautiful skies, as you can see. I used to go there a lot. Every summer I go there. Every other week I try to go there because it's really dark and it's beautiful, and you can see the stars, like million stars in the sky, and it's really fantastic. So as we can see, there is a lot. And if you maybe are familiar with this photo I took in Abu Dhabi, and it was really a blessed photo. I love this photo, and it is really multiple photos that I took in order to get a final result. This other photo I took in the mountains of Hajar Mountains near Hatta, if you know Hatta, and Shauka. It's a beautiful place, and it was a summer night. And usually in summer there is no rain, but at that particular year in 2018, there was lots of rains. So I went exploring for lakes like those, and I found this place. It was really magical, and I shot it with multiple shots, and I call this a fairy tale. Another place also is Hatta. You know Hatta. It's a beautiful place, and now it's a major recreation place where people go and swim in this lake or dive in and do some recreational activities. Now there is another location, and this location I found a scorpion. And when I first saw the scorpion, I got very scared in the beginning. And then I start thinking that I have to deal with this scorpion very wisely. People and our elders, they lived among the desert for years and years, and they adopted with such natural things. All we have to do is just get familiar with their attitude and try as much as possible to be safe, wear proper clothing, and try not to step on any of such creatures. So when I saw first this scorpion, I ran away and went to my car, and then I said to myself, I have to go back and be brave. I have to keep on taking the photographs. So living among the nature is really an exciting thing, and it came also with blending with the nature. This photo, for example, it's on the borders of Oman, and I went there with a couple of my friends, and when we stepped into this wadi, we saw a big snake just slipping away. So I said to myself, we have to go back quickly because this is really dangerous, right? So what I did, I told my friends that let's go back, but I will just take one picture before I go back, and then we can wrap our things and drive our car. So I took one picture, and I looked into the screen, and I found this beautiful scene that is really very promising. So I told them, let's spend one more picture, and then we can go back. So I kept on taking pictures and making excuses until we spent the whole night, and the snake didn't show up again. And what I did, I told my friend who is in this picture, keep on looking below our feet, and if you find anything, just let us know, and we will run away as fast as we can. And thankfully, the snake didn't show up again. And it was a really scary and a beautiful experience. So the location, such camping and going among the nature, you have always to be very careful about those kind of things. I will leave you with the last story, which is in Egypt. There is a beautiful place called Wadi al-Hitan, or the Valley of Whales. And the significant thing about this valley, that hundreds of thousands of years ago, it was a big ocean. All of this area was a big ocean, and there are fossils on the ground. It's like an open museum where you can see whales, fossils of whales all over the place. And what happened actually when this place was discovered, like 10 years ago, UNESCO made it like a national park. And there was proper management of this location to keep it safe and to keep this heritage safe. And there is an open museum. And when you go there, it's really very unique. It's a beautiful place, and you can find those beautiful buildings and those beautiful fossils, as you can see. Those are whales. We all know that whales are mammals. And mammals, hundreds of thousands of years ago, they used to walk on the ground and then go to swim and then go back to the ground. So those kind of fossils, they are whales with hands. So they have still their limbs. They did not evolve to become fins like current whales. So I went there, I took special permissions, and I spent a week there in this desert camping and taking photographs. And while I was doing that, there is a small fox that live in this area. This cute little fox. It is very shy, and it looks like actually a little bigger than a cat. And then I started to get familiar with this. There is like a tribe of foxes, like 10 foxes that came into close to our camp. So I was having with me a bag full of coffee. So what happened? I kept the bag near me, and then this fox sneaked into my bag and takes this coffee. And we all know that the fox is a foxy creature, as literally as it says. And it took away the coffee, and it just ate it, and it's become very hyper. And this particular fox who drinks the coffee or ate the coffee powder becomes very hyper and kept on bullying all his species. And they kept on all the night screaming because of the coffee that they drink. So it was a really very funny experience, and this fox kept us awake all night. So Egypt is really beautiful, and there's a lot of beautiful locations there in Egypt. And this particular location also, it's called Munfarida, where there was a lonely mountain and a lonely tree, and I liked it a lot. And I took the picture of this lonely tree, and I think you saw this in the exhibition with Manarat al Saadiyat. There is a bit of a sad story around it, but I will not talk about it now. Let's keep it cheerful. So the location is really nice, and through photography, I was able to capture the beauty of that place and all of such beautiful things. The last story that I will tell you about today is that when I was flying back to Dubai, I said to myself, I will try something new. I will try to capture the Milky Way from the plane. So what I did, I booked my flight at night, and I booked the seat to be on the right side, where I studied exactly the location of the Milky Way. I had several options of flights, so I pick a particular option of a flight that happened to be on a specific timing. And this is exactly a very important thing that I want to say, that timing is very important for shooting any kind of photography, and specifically speaking about astrophotography. So what I did, actually, I picked the exact and perfect timing, and I started my flight, and I put my camera. I made all this, the arrangement and all the studies, and I did my homework. And then I took a test shot, and I found the Milky Way, as you can see, right at the wing. So I kept on doing all the things that I want to do until I managed to get this beautiful picture of the Milky Way from the flight. It was really excited. I was excited, and the 4 hours of flight went like 5 minutes. And I was really happy, like a kid. I was as if somebody gave me a toy and a chocolate. And I kept on enjoying my vacation when I came back, and it made my day. So there's a lot of stories I have. Maybe we don't have time for it today, but maybe we can arrange. If there is any particular chance, I want to hear also from you. I want to listen to your questions. So I will stop at that point, Liz, and we can go back and have our discussions, right?
Okay, that sounds fantastic. Thank you so much for fitting so much into that little part of time. There were lots of questions popping up in the chat, and I'm really glad that people were able to keep themselves contained. Jaden, can we hear from you first?
Okay. How expensive is like one photo, like a particular photo with like, what do you call, like how much is the gear for like one photo?
You mean the equipment, or to buy one of Sammy's photographs?
Yeah, if you're buying one, how expensive is it for one photo?
Okay, now a photo can be with multiple prices, but what really makes the price of the photo is the effort that you put into it. Sometimes you draw a picture, right? and you feel that you have spent a lot of time in this picture and you really cherish it. And sometimes it's even not for sale. But what is more important is the tools that you use to produce such pictures, and your mind and your effort that you put into it. So let me answer your question in a different way. In order for you to take a good photographs like that, you need a camera like around 1,000 or 2,000 dirhams, and you need a lens around 1,000. We are talking about 3,000 dirhams all in all. So you can start shooting such beautiful photos, and you can do such photos yourself without the need to buy any of others' photos. So you can make your own photos. Just try to pursue this hobby and go for it. And let us see some good photographers among you.
Zeta, your question. I shared your question from last week with Samy about sacrifices.
Yeah, so did you have to make a lot of sacrifices for astrophotography?
No,
for example,
yeah.
your son is going to graduate. For example, your son,
yeah.
your son is going to graduate, or there's some important family meeting, but you've already scheduled an astrophotography meeting to take pictures.
Okay, so it's really very important question. I have in the end to make a proper balance. If there is a very important occasion, I have to make everything work around this occasion. I cannot just sacrifice a graduation or a wedding or a birthday or a very important event like that. What I actually have, maybe I can show you now. What I do is I have a daily schedule like that. Despite the fact that I have it on my mobile, but I always like to keep it written, and it's just right behind me on my wall. What I do is I put the important occasions on it, and I try as much as possible to manage my time. Now let's take a different approach on this question. Let's say, for example, that I have to go every week to take photographs, and maybe it comes in a weekend. So what I do, I try to balance things up. One time I will take my family with me. One time I will go without them, but I will hook them up in some kind of a different activity with their friends, like a night sleepover or even a journey with their mother and their friends. So we can balance things up and they don't feel a bit lonely about it. When I'm having an exhibition for several days, I'm always trying to pick a day or during the weekdays where they have schools and they are already occupied. And sometimes when in summer they are back in Egypt and they are spending time with their cousins and their friends, I try to make most of my activities in such timing. So yes, Zita, it's very important, but the most important thing in life is balancing your duties and your passion with your family. Family first is always, this is a very important thing. And even if I am away, we can open the phone or open the WhatsApp or anything, any kind of communication that we can keep on getting connection together. But I want to say something that I have a small daughter, which her name is Rima. And at every single time I go for a journey, she hugs me a lot. And she always almost make me cry that why you are going, Daddy, take me with you. And she's becoming very dramatic about it. And every single time I spend like half an hour feeling very bad. And then slowly, she starts playing with her friends or things and she forget about it. So balancing is very important.
Greece.
Greece, wow, that's why your name is actually like Greek myth, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, Mafa, let's hear from you.
So if a company came to you and asked you if you wanted to advertise their item, would it be about astrophotography?
Can you repeat your question again, Mafa?
If a company came to you and told you that they wanted you to advertise their item, would it be about astrophotography?
Okay, that's a really good question because sometimes I get approached by companies that doesn't relate to art at all. And I don't prefer such things. I always like to keep it evolving around the art itself. And I'll give you an example. For example, Apple. We all know Apple and iPhone. They were launching their iPhone 7 a few years ago, and they want their campaign to be about photographing the moon. So they contacted me and they told me about the project, and I got very excited because it is around what I love. It is integrated with my passion. But if somebody came to me and told me, okay, we have, for example, a chocolate or some kind of a food, I might not get very excited about it because I have to keep my aim focused, and I have to keep my things all focused on what I love. So I should not distract myself with different things. So I have, again, to keep it balanced. So balancing things up is very important in our life. So I have to study a case by case, and depending on the case, I will go for it. All right, Nafa?
That's a
Yes, thank you.
great question, and it connects to a question Rashid had last week. Rashid, can you go next with your question?
تفضل راشد.
I saw one picture you made when you were going through the slideshow.
Yeah.
I don't know if you use it, but somebody, a celebrity, they use like a lens that you can see all around yourself, like 360 lens.
Yeah.
Did you use that before?
Yes, yes, you are correct. I used it and I loved it, and I have it just right next to me. It's that particular lens. As you can see, it's a concave. It's a very small, but it looks like a fish eye, and they call it actually. They call it a fish eye because it can see even behind itself. And I like panoramas. I like to see things wide, so we can capture the whole scene. And there are now in the market 360 cameras. I also have a couple of 360 cameras that I don't have it right behind me now, but it's a 360 technology is really nice. And I actually have a business of my own specialized in 360 because I really am passionate about it. So it's a very good question, Rashid, and you have a very good eye. And yes, you are right. Depending on the type of lens, you can capture things differently. So if I want to capture the moon, I need a very long and big lens because I have to get close to it. And if I want to capture the whole scene, I need a fish eye lens or a 360 camera. So it drives us to a bigger picture that I have to use the correct tool for everything. If I want to go to a place, I have to ride a bicycle or a car or a train. If I want to write, I have to use a proper pen and the paper. So it's all about using the tools properly to suit our requirements and our aims. So a good question, Rashid.
I think, Rashid, last week, did you also ask if Samy was the person who took the photograph that was on the advertisements for the Apple phone?
For iPhone 6, the one for the Milky Way, and then there was like snow, like a hill or something.
No, that was not mine, actually. The one which I took is for the moon with Apple particularly. It was an iPhone 7. But maybe in the future I will do another project with Apple, let's say. But that particular one, it was, I think, for the MacBook and for the iPhone, and it wasn't mine.
Okay.
Excellent. And Mena, your question.
Why was astrophotography your passion?
Okay, it is a passion because I love stars since I was a kid. I love stars and I love space, and I really wanted to fly, as I told you in the presentation. I wanted to reach out for the skies, and I think stars and planets and space is a very cool area to discover and to explore. And it gives you freedom. It gives you some magical and mystical things. That's why I also like to watch science fiction movies, magical movies like Harry Potter, or so I love such kind of things, you know. So space and astrophotography really make my dream come true. It really make me feel like I'm an adventure and I'm living in a mystical, mysterious, magical world. So that's why Minna, because I think you love Harry Potter, maybe. So it's the same. It's the same origin for the passion. Yeah.
Excellent. Good question, Mana. Ziad. Oh, you there? Oh, I think we, okay.
Can I? Okay.
Yes, yes.
So my question is, like when you're doing, like, I think time lapse, what were these flying things in the sky? There's this like flying stuff going in the sky. It went so fast. It wasn't like I think stars. I think it was stars. They were moving not that fast, but there was these white stars that kept moving so fast in the when you're doing time lapse.
Time lapse is a very tricky, magical type of astrophotography. What you do actually is for one single time lapse, you take like 200 pictures. And those 200 pictures, you try to summarize 2 hours in 1 minute or half a minute. So in 2 hours, the sky rotates or the earth rotates a lot, you know, and the stars move across the sky. So what you do in time lapse, you record this motion, and you can present this motion either by a line, and you can sometimes see the time lapse showing like circles, right? And sometimes you can see it like a video with a fast moving sunset or sunrise or moon or stars moving. So does this answer your questions yet?
So because some of the stars, they're moving like all together, and then just one comes from the back and goes all the way to the front, and it goes.
Yeah, I got your question now. So it either one of two things. It's either a plane, a flight, which is crossing the sky, or it is a meteor. But anything else should always be in the same direction and the same manner.
So it's either a meteor or a helicopter.
A helicopter,
or a plane.
Flight, a plane. And I always go to a place called Shauka. Shauka is in Ras Al Khaimah, and it's a bit close to the flight direction. So I always see flights. So I was really lucky. During COVID-19, there was no flights at all. So I took a special permission from police, and I went to the mountain, and I took a time lapse without any plane. And I was really excited about it. Now, there is another thing that I forgot to say, that satellites, sometimes they show satellites. Satellites, they show in the night sky, and one of the biggest satellites that we have is the International Space Station. And it looks like a very bright star moving very fast. The only thing that can distinguish between a satellite and the plane, that the plane is always having a red light switching on and off, but the satellite doesn't have something like that. It's always a continuous single light, because it's reflection of the sun, actually. It's not its own light. So at night, I see lots of satellites. And if we all know, there is now lots of satellites being brought to space by the guy who, I forgot his name, the guy who invented the electrical car.
Oh, Tesla.
Tesla, yeah. So this guy,
Elon Musk?
Elon Musk, exactly. I have a very bad memory with names. So Elon Musk now, he launched since like 2 years, SpaceX program, if you remember it. And it's all about having lots of satellites around the Earth, so we can have internet connected directly to satellites. So despite the fact that this is a very unique project, but it is affecting our vision and affecting the astronomy and the stargazing. So there is a lot of groups around the world fighting this project, like fighting for animal life or planet life. They are also fighting for the vision of a clear sky and clear observation of stars. So I'm not happy about it, but it is what it is.
A new form of light pollution.
Exactly.
And Ahmed.
I just have a question for you. If you let me, can I make like a presentation on you and astrophotography and photography, and then send it to Miss Lee's, and she can send it to you?
So do you mean, yeah.
Of course, anybody of you, he wants to send me anything that he feels that it is connected to such beautiful hobby, I'm ready to receive it. I will give you all my contacts. I will give it to Liz, and she will maybe distribute it to all of you. You can at any time message me on my social media or on my website or even my personal phone. Send me pictures that you shoot. Anything you want to share with me, presentation, a drawing, I'll really be very excited about it. I have your pictures that was drawn by Sarah. I'm really happy about it, Sarah, and I show it to my kids. All right, and I'm really excited about it. So I'm waiting to see from Ahmed as well, and any of you, Minna or Rashid or Mafa or Zeta, anybody who wants to share with me his art or his photographs, I'll be very happy to have it. All
Excellent. Right? Wadi, do you want to go while we sort out Olivia's sound?
Okay. I just want to ask, where are you now?
Right now, I am in Mirdif. I'm in my villa. And what I did is I have a big part of my house as a studio. Okay. So I have like an in-house studio to do all my videos and photography and broadcasts and lectures. And I started building up this studio during COVID-19 because we had to change a bit our perspective in doing things, and it came as a benefit to me actually. And in the ground floor, I have also a room for all my equipment and my tents and my all the equipment related to astrophotography. So I practically live in my office, or my office is in my house, just beside my children and my family, and it's really very exciting. So this is where I am.
Excellent. Olivia's question is, how do you stitch all the photos together? So when you do the like the picture in Hatta of the lake and the reflection of the trees?
Beautiful questions, actually. I was actually, when I was presenting that, I was a bit skeptic that it might be a bit more complicated for you, but it looks like you are much smarter than me even. Panorama is a very nice tool, right? And what is good about Panorama is that you can, with your own lens, despite the fact whether, as Rashid said, it's a wide angle or a fish eye or even a normal lens, with a panorama technique, you can take multiple photos and stitch it together to show you a wider angle. And this is the beauty of knowledge. When you have the knowledge and the techniques and the softwares, and this is particularly your question, there are softwares that will stitch those photos together. But in order to do that, you have to take your photo in a special manner. You have to keep the same height and same level, and start changing your angle side by side until you get the whole scene in a particular scientific way. And then you go back home, you put your files on the PC, and you open this software. And by the way, the software is called Microsoft Image Composite Editor, Microsoft ICE. And actually, this software is free, and it was a graduation project for a student in university, and Microsoft adopted the software and it is in the data center of research in Microsoft Download website. So I discovered this software and I started stitching my panoramas because I like panorama a lot. So it takes many things. It takes a technique, it takes a tool, it takes a certain behavior from you to follow this technique, and then it takes a software to stitch it together, and it takes lots of patience and time and trial and error and frustration until you get in the end the really good result and you start to get experience about it.
Great. There's one quick question about the fox that you encountered. Was it a fennec fox? Do you know what type of fox it was? Fennec fox?
Yeah, fennec fox.
Yeah, they're the very small ones.
Small Arabian desert fox, and
Yeah.
usually it is in the Middle East, especially in the desert. You can find it in the United Arab Emirates and mostly in Egypt and the western deserts of Egypt.
Okay.
It's a beautiful creature, and it's a very naughty creature.
And can I also, I'm going to switch to the gallery view here. Sarah, I shared your sketch note that you made during the exhibition tour with Samy. Can you introduce yourself and so that he can put a face to a picture?
Hi, my name is Sarah. I'm 10 years old and I'm from India. And I am now a big fan of you because I don't know why, I just really like you. And yeah, I've been taking many notes during your lessons. Yeah.
I loved it. I really loved the picture, and I told you that a while ago, and I will keep it forever. Actually, I will always keep this picture with me because it means a lot to me. When I see
Yes, Mama.
you are interacting with all of this beautiful art, I really love it. So it's really a pride moment for me to have such beautiful output from you.
Thank you.
And do we have any more questions? Because I think it's, yeah, we're almost at 2 o'clock. So we do need to end the call soon. But any last couple of questions before we go, or shall we can always contact Samy as well by message or at some other time
is
as
very
well.
persistent.
Yeah, yeah, Rashid.
No,
Did you ever make pictures of like the sunset or the sunrise?
Yes, of course. Now I will tell you some very cool fact. Whenever you go on an astrophotography trip, you go at night, but you always witness either a sunrise or a sunset or both, because you have to travel ahead of it. You got my point? And since I love photography, so I always take a sunrise or a sunset before or after my trip. So of course, and the sun actually is a celestial object. It is one of the biggest celestial objects near our area or in our solar system. So it is actually an astrophotography field. When you take a photo for the sunrise or sunset, you are shooting astrophotography as well.
Sometimes when I go fishing, I make pictures with my dad's phone.
Maybe you can share it with me sometime. All right?
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
And Ahmed?
What cameras do you use?
Look, I'll be very keen to tell you. No matter what kind of camera, the most important thing is you. It's not the camera. You can use a Nikon, you can use a Canon, you can use a Sony, you can use any camera you want. You can use even the iPhone or a Google phone. The most important thing is that you try to develop your skills. The camera is just a tool. It's like a car. You can use any car to reach your destination, right? So don't focus on the type of camera rather than the techniques behind using this camera. You can get a good photo with any kind of a camera. You got my point? But to answer your question, I always like to use Nikon because Nikon for me, it's like family. When I grow up, I was a kid. My brother was shooting with Nikon. My father also loved Nikon a lot. So it's like in our blood. We love Nikon just as I love blue or I love red. But in the end, it's you, the artist, who decide what to do and what to shoot, and it's all here.
Now, Damia has a question.
Any like websites or like YouTube videos that you make or we can see to like learn techniques?
Of course, I have actually a website which I continuously develop it, and there is one tab in my website. It's about knowledge, and you can see there astrophotography basics and astrophotography 101. I have also a YouTube channel. I'm not giving the YouTube channel much attention, but I'm trying now to develop the channel a lot. The issue with social media is that it will require a lot of dedication and a lot of time. And during those couple of years, I'm focused more on exhibitions. I am now, as you see, I have the exhibition with Manarat al Saadiyat, and I'm trying to develop this new technology of virtual reality. And it went very successful, alhamdulillah. And I have the website now developed into a virtual reality. So you can, even if you are sitting at home, you can use your own headset, virtual reality headset. I will show you one example. Like this one.
Oh yeah, the VR.
Exactly. So you can use this with your phone and you can access the website. And I'm having another exhibition in the coming week, but I promise you that I will even pay more attention to YouTube, inshallah.
There's a question from Mohammed as well. Mohammed?
Yeah, do you only take pictures at night or also in the morning?
I take pictures of my kids. I take pictures of cities, skyscrapers, streets, animals, any kind of photography. I love it. And the other day we were in Dubai Safari Park, and I took my camera and I started shooting the cheetah and the lion. I like any kind of photography, but my main profession or specialization is in night photography. It's always good to have a specialty. You understand me? But it also doesn't mean that you can do the other things. So if you like to watch horror movies, for example, you can still use your time to watch some comedy movies or some science fiction. So it's all again about balancing your requirements with your hobbies and doing the things that you love. I love photography in all its shapes.
Olivia asked a question. Have you ever stayed up all night long?
Of course. It's always fun to do this. Since I was a kid, it was exciting to sneak out in the balcony and spend the whole night watching the night until the sunrise. So it was really exciting for me to do this. And nowadays I do it a lot because when I go on a trip, I always go like around sunset time and I spend until sunrise. So practically speaking, I do this every day.
And Rashid, did you have a new question?
Yeah, it's kind of, what 10 things would you bring if you were on a trip somewhere to take pictures?
Of course, a camera and a tripod. So 2 things, all right? Chocolate. Chocolate is very important, man. I love chocolate, all right? And tea. I love karak, especially karak tea, if you are familiar with it. And what's more important, also coffee. I bring my own small coffee machine and fire starters and things related to fire, and my speakers, of course, my mobile, and a chair. And that's it. I don't need anything else. And my car, of course.
Oh, great question, Rashid. Mena, you have your hand up. And then Maya.
I would do the same thing as he would do when we were small. We'd stay up the whole night when I'd be in Egypt, and we'd look out the window and it would be freezing outside.
It's magical. Do it and watch as the dawn breaking. It's really magical. I used to, when I was 10 years old, I used to do this, and it's really, I feel nostalgic about this a lot. It's one of my best moments.
And Matha has a question as well about the stars that are in the zodiac signs. So when you look at those old maps of the celestial heavens, and they have the zodiac signs and those stars. Have you ever taken pictures of, you know, a zodiac set of stars?
Now, let us just draw a line between two things. There is something called astronomy and there is something called astrology. All right? Astrology, it's a bit different field, which is related to some extent integrated with culture and with some predictions and things like that. But the intersection between both of them, that there is a mythical origin for such signs and things like that. And I think Zeta can understand what I'm saying, because most of the names in the sky are either Greek or Arabic, both. You can see now, look up in the stars and you can see the Arabic names are still there, like Al-Danab, Al-Rijl, Al-Sayf, and you can see also the Greek names. So what happened is, at that time, it was very dark and people used to look at the sky a lot, and they used to imagine certain shapes and connect those dots together and build up shapes like Orion, the Hunter, or like the Big Dipper, or shapes of animals. So those shapes together, they call it constellations. So the proper definition of this is called constellations. So it's constellations, it's like a map where you identify that this is the shape of this particular part of the sky. All right? So, and this map keep on changing during the winter and the summer and during the seasons. So it's always there in my pictures in a way or another, because what I do is I zoom inside those constellations and I take pictures beyond those, or sometimes I zoom out and take the constellation altogether. So yes, I love constellations, and I always take pictures for constellations, and I always look up in the stars and try to distinguish which is showing up now and which is not. And we can all at night, I want you to do something today, just after sunset, spend 1 hour and then go out and look up in the middle of the sky, and you will find 3 big stars, and they are called Orion, and it's part of Orion constellation. And those 3 big stars are surrounded by 2 even bigger stars, brighter stars, called Betelgeuse, a yellow star, and the other one is called Rijl, and in Arabic it means leg. And those are forming a constellation called Orion. Orion the Great, or the Hunter, or in Arabic they call it Al-Jabbar, Majmu'at Al-Jabbar. And it's a magnificent constellation in the sky. And if you remember one of my photos, it's for a shape like a flower, a red flower. This is exactly in the center of Orion. You can search it on Google, Orion constellation and Orion Nebula. It's one of the most beloved objects in the sky.
And Olivia is wondering, have you ever taken photographs underwater?
I did this, and imagine what it was for my kid. He was swimming, and I bought a small photographic, like transparent case, and I asked him to dive in, and I started improvising and training and trying to get a shot of him. And then later on, I was diving in Egypt, in the Red Sea, and it's very famous for diving, and I brought a small GoPro camera, and I took a picture or videos underwater, but I'm not a professional underwater photographer. It's a very sophisticated specialty, and there are lots of good photographers around the world and in the United Arab Emirates who are taking photographs underwater. Yeah.
Good. I think we need to finish now. Can I ask, is it all right if we take a group picture that we can share? Look at all of these people who have lasted. I just am so amazed by your stamina, everybody, that you have stayed in the call for this long and listened and participated and been respectful. And I'm just so impressed. So if you can switch your cameras on for a second, I'll take a quick screenshot. Hi, Ms. Miriam. Are you ready? 3, 2, Nathan, do you want to turn your picture on, Nathan? Okay, 3, 2, 1.